wonderful performance by the students of the budgeting class. The participants were Guru Mukundan, Vishnu Bhaskar, Sadhana Shri Mukundan, Akshaya Sundaraj, Kirti Ram, Junakar, Sulekha Ram, Junakar, Awarness, Martivan, Budhvita, Shimane Sudure, Naren Nandakumar, Ratish, Vimalanathan, and Kirtan Kumarapan, all led by the temple's music teacher, Ms. Rajalakshmi Shankar. We would now like everyone to please stand for the American National Anthem.
Oh, see, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the rampart we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय
For joining us this afternoon for a program dedicated to the growth, sustenance, and appreciation of Hinduism. I just wanted to start by noting, as many of you were walking in, many of the youngsters probably received a quiz with a series of questions on Hinduism. This quiz is simply a fun way of assessing where each of you stand with regards to your knowledge of Hinduism. Later on in the program, our volunteers will collect these quizzes from whoever participated, and I will announce the names of those who scored the highest. Thank you. So, today we have all been given the opportunity to see how many of us live and preserve Hinduism. Most of us here identify ourselves as Hindus or followers of Sanatana Dharma. We've all taken the necessary steps to conduct certain rituals and say the proper prayers in order to focus our bodies and minds to stay on an eternal spiritual path. But the fundamental teaching of Hinduism, or Vedanta, is that a human being's basic nature is not confined to the body or the mind. Beyond both of these is the spirit, or the spark of God within the soul. This spirit is within us and also within everything we see. In this way, Hinduism manifests itself in various facets of our lives. When we become aware of this, we will begin to see that all beings and all things are really in their deepest essence, this pure or divine spirit, full of peace, full of joy, and full of wisdom, ever united with God. So ladies and gentlemen, please, we have a wonderful program in store for you. So sit back, relax, and open your minds. Our first event of the afternoon consists of Sloka recitations by students Raj, Sriram, Lakshman, Akshaya, Anish, Nidhi, Kesahi, Madhumita, Pravarna, Naren, Sugandhani, Bhalatan, Dayani, Priyant, and Praveen of the Hindu Temple Sloka class, taught by their teacher Mr. Chandrasekhar Vedu. These students have prepared small shlokas that pay obeisance to our gods and goddesses.
Shuklam Varadharam Vishnum Sasi
token of appreciation. Today, our first youth speaker, Chetna Datta, representing the Hindu Center of Flushing, is a student at Hofstra University. Chetna has been with the Hindu Center since she was a little girl and is now the co-president of the Hindu Center Youth Association. Today, Chetna will share with us her thoughts on eternal peace leading to external and global peace.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chetna Datta, as she already has mentioned. My topic is going to be on Hinduism and global peace. Religion is an organized collection of values, beliefs, cultural systems, and worldviews that relate to humanity. Many religions have symbols, histories, and prayers that intend to create some sort of meaning to life. In the Hindu religion, the Shabd Om has a profound impact. What is Om? It's a vibration that symbolizes the manifestation of God. It is the name of God that represents Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, and more importantly, it's a symbol of peace. By chanting it, it's a means of obtaining eternal peace. Hinduism is the way of life. A major pillar of Hinduism is respect and goodwill to others. By doing this, one can establish peace within society. However, in order to establish peace, conduct plays an integral part. From here stems karma and dharma. Dharma is defined as the path of righteousness. It is the moral law that is combined with spiritual discipline that guides one's life. Anything that helps to reach God is dharmic. The essence of dharma possesses a certain ability, power, and spiritual strength. The purpose of dharma is not only to become one with God, but also guide one to realize what is materialistic and what is supreme happiness. Dharma gives the power to distinguish between the two. Dharma and peace are interrelated because by taking the righteous path, one can institute peace within their soul. Karma, on the other hand, is your own doing, which could be either physical or mental. Hindu philosophy believes in life after death or reincarnation. If karma of an individual is good enough, the next birth will be rewarded. And if not, the person may actually degenerate into a lower life form. In order to achieve good karma and peace, it is important to live life according to dharma and what is right. There are 3 types of karma. Sattvic karma is doing one duties without any sort of attachments and doing things for the benefit of others, which again brings peace to oneself and the society around them. The second one is Rajasic karma, which is selfish doings. A person does duties that will satisfy him or herself. The last one is Tamasic karma. This is when the person carries out evil actions to harm others intentionally. According to the Gita, Lord Krishna has said to do Nishkam karma, which means unattached, selfless, or desireless action. When this is performed without any expectation of fruits or result, this will lead one towards salvation of their soul and break it free from the cycle of rebirth, along with containing inner peace. So how does karma and dharma relate? This has a lot to do with reincarnation, as said before. What determines the state of an individual in the next existence is karma, which refers to the action that are done by the body and the mind. In order to achieve good karma, it is important to live according to dharma. Now, how does this relate to peace? When doing good unto others, the person is maintaining a certain level of peace within themselves. Now, this relates globally by introducing such a society to an ideal world in which everyone follows karma and dharma. They would lead peaceful lives. Let's take a real world example now. There is a robber who breaks into one's house and decides to take everything away from them, their TV, money, gold or jewelry, so on and so forth. The owner of the house comes home from a long day at work to find that he or she has been robbed. Clearly the robber carried out a tamasic karma, and he has put the owner of the house at unease. The robber has amplified the owner's problem. He must buy new things to replace the ones that have been stolen. Where will the owner collect the money? Maybe at that time he can't afford it because he has other important bills to pay off. Now the cops come over to the house to investigate and see if there's any clues to catch the robber. Now let's look outside the box. Not only has a person been robbed and affected, but the people that live in the town are too affected by this. They are now in fear of their homes being robbed. Therefore, people will be restricting what to keep at home and what to keep in the bank. It could also be a possibility that children will not be able to play in the streets or park as much. As you can see, this domino effect that was created just by one single person. The robber has committed a sin. However, he feels like he's on top of the world because he has received materialistic entities that he wanted. Within the sin, he's going further away from God. Anything to do with global peace. Well, robbery is common around the world, and through the example, it shows how a town can get anxious just by one single person. By doing good for others keeps the society happy, as well as yourself. There is a balance when one's karma and dharma are good. Hinduism would tell the robber that he's done sin. Therefore, bad will be done on the robber, either in this life or he have to pay it off in the next. Not only has a piece of society gone down, but the robbers as well. He might temporarily be happy with the materialistic things, but in the long run he will too be at unease. The things he has stolen, the money he has made off from robbing, will eventually go away. Then what would he do? Commit another robbery? It's quite possible. However, maybe while he's committing the action, he might get caught by the police and taken to jail. So therefore, Hinduism teaches to do good and not expect anything from others. And with this method, one will obtain God and stay at peace because he or she is not carrying any sort of burden on their shoulders. Let's take a look at history now. Indian history contains many strong leaders such as Mahatma Gandhi. He was an luminary of India who led India to independence and inspired a movement of nonviolence, civil rights, and freedom, all in the name of peace. The pinnacle of his movement stemmed from ahimsa, his desire to have Hindus to fight back in a nonviolent and peaceful way. Ahimsa, which is the absence of the desire to kill or harm others. Ahimsa, which is the absence of the desire to kill or harm people. This falls both under the category of karma and dharma. From the Hindu religion, he took the importance of action in one life without concerns and yearning for success, which ultimately creates peace in society. Ahimsa is a deep expression of love for all humans, including opponents. One can learn to obtain global peace through Hinduism. Knowledge has to be put into action. It has to be put into karma. One has to walk the path and practice the teachings. Only then does life become disciplined, resulting in the transformation of one's personality. Hinduism stresses the practice as the best way for one to learn good and eventually obtain peace. Thank you, everyone.
I'd like to offer Chetna my token of appreciation. Remind all the kids to continue doing their quizzes. It will be collected pretty soon, but I'll let you know when. Our next speaker is Deepali Dave from the Swami Narayan Temple, who is a faculty member at the Mount Sinai School of Medicine. Today she will be speaking to us about how to incorporate dharma into our lives.
Namaste, good afternoon, Jai Swaminarayan. I'd like to thank everybody for allowing me the opportunity to speak this afternoon. So echoing off the previous speaker, when we hear the word dharma, we're often left feeling a little elusive. Yet, dharma is a very simple concept. As a wife, part of my dharma is to raise my family. Whether you're a farmer, a teacher, an activist, a poet, a monk, these are all clarion calls to impact the world. But you don't need to have a calling to have dharma. Dharma means sustaining your life, meeting your family's obligations, participating in society. And Dharma is ultimately about enhancing your life, honoring your ethics, and doing right for yourself, family, the community, and the world. Simply put, it's the path of the good. To understand Dharma and to measure how well we're living up to these ideals, ask yourself, what is my role in the world? What are my obligations? How can I best serve the world around me? Often, we've heard people say life is a game, play by the rules. But what if there were no rules? Would we be corrupt? Do rules actually make us corrupt? After all, when there are rules, rules can be broken and bent. Only when there are rules, we have the need for regulators, courts, and auditors to keep watch over society. A world without rules is a world like a jungle. This is why rules exist. So, what exactly is Dharma? Is there a single definition? Rules, religion, righteousness? Dharma is the true name of the Vedic spiritual tradition. Dharma is eternal. If we think Dharma is a religion, law, or tradition, it is not. It's a concept, a knowledge. We associate Dharma to many ideas, and we translate it in many different forms. Dharma is a multi-skilled term and has many different meanings, such as divine law, the path of morality, religion, ethics, responsibility, virtues, and the list goes on and on. Simply, Dharma is the foundation on which the three other purusharths of Arth, Kam, and Moksha are based. A true hero is someone who thinks not about doing what's right, but one that simply does the right thing without thinking. And so that leads us to the beckoning question of why this purusharth? Why is Dharma so critical? In the Mahabharata, Bhagwan Ved Vyas says, Dharmo evo hato hanti, dharmo rakshiti rakshataha, rakshitam dharma rakshitihi. Meaning, if Dharma is destroyed, it will destroy humanity and the world. If Dharma is protected, it will also protect them. Bhagwan Ved Vyas further states, Yato dharmo krishnoha, which declares where there is Dharma, there is victory. The essence of Dharma lies in possessing a certain ability, inner discipline, and spiritual strength. The practice of Dharma gives us an experience of peace, joy, strength, and tranquility within oneself, and also helps make life disciplined. There are many parents out here in the audience today, so Matru Dharma and Pitru Dharma, meaning the obligations of a parent, are very important. As you know, a seed can't grow into a beautiful tree without nurture, care, and watering. However, your children also cannot become contributing members of society with that same type of nurturing and care. Many times, a lot of us take the time as children we have with our parents for granted, and vice versa. If you're a parent, you should take the time to spend with your child, because the time you've lost is the time you've lost to guide them onto a dharmic path. And for the younger generation here, what choices are you going to make to learn from your parents? Another way of developing a connection with your family is active listening, with the intent of understanding the views and thoughts of parents and children. You can develop these active listening skills with your family by setting aside 30 minutes, 2 or 3 times a week, to sit and talk. This means there will be no distractions of the TV, television, and it's just a time for the family to just get to know one another better. It helps anchor family bonding and further our teachings in cultural aspects such as food, fashion, music, and even helps us set a spiritual tone in daily rituals such as doing arti, reading the scriptures, and developing a connection with Bhagwan. There's a story I'd like to share about a king who had a bird within his garden. This bird would be fed daily and the king would play with him every day. However, the bird would always think, why am I in this cage? Why can't I go out and fly freely like the other birds? Lo and behold, one day after the feeding, the king actually forgot to close the cage. So the bird had the opportunity to fly around. Once he stepped out of his cage, he was a little scared and noticed that he was much happier in his cage. Similarly, Pramukh Swami Maharaj often says, Dharma na bandhan e bandhan nathi, par mukti na sadhan che, meaning the bonds of dharma should not be considered as bondage, but rather tools to liberation. In brief, dharma is the upholder, supporter, and sustainer of society. It is the essence of one's being. To end, whatever you are doing, your dharma is to do it well, to serve yourself, to serve life in the present moment, and to keep moving forward to the sense of personal fulfillment. Thank you.
Hindu temple, I'd like to give Dipali Dale our token of appreciation. Our next item is a Bhangra dance to be performed by the Hindu Center group. Bhangra is a fun, high-energy dance that originated in Punjab but has gained massive popularity around the world. This particular piece will be performed by Chetna Datta, Palak Patel, Niharika Bhatt, Saundarya Movindru, and Anish Patel. Their coordinator, Rukmini Nair, was not able to be with us today due to an injury, but please welcome them on stage. By the student. Before going on to the next program, I would just like to acknowledge Mr. Kathoria from the Hindu Center and Mr. Thakur from the Swaminarayan Temple. Thank you for being here today. And students that are working on the quizzes, the volunteers will be collecting them shortly. Next up, we have a skit that is made up of 3 scenes related to Hinduism. The central idea for each of these scenes is taken from Swami Vivekananda's lectures at New York, Atlanta, and Chicago. Each scene provides short and direct responses to questions like, how is the Hindu religion different? Why are Hindus soft and mild? The skit, coordinated by Ms. Lakshmi Chandrasekhar, is to be performed by students Ramya Iyer, Dayani Jayakumaran, and Karthik Ravishankar of the Ganesha Pathasala.
Namaste, brothers and sisters.
Namaste, Swami.
Namaste, Hindu monk.
Swami, I have a question. What makes the Hindu religion different from other religions?
Share something simple that we can digest.
Okay, let me make this interactive. I have a question for you. What are the various occupations of daily life? In the order of priority, of course.
Enjoy social life?
How to make money. Money and more money.
Think about the things money can buy?
How to get powerful just with money.
How to live a tension-free life?
Saving for retirement.
I expected something different. I see I will have to approach this in a different manner. Okay, what do you do on a normal Sunday?
Go shopping, relax.
Visit the mosque. What do people do in India?
In India, religion is the single most important aspect of life.
That's money.
Every Hindu's actions are governed by the religious principles of moksha, punya, seva, dharma. Outside of India, religion is just one of many aspects of life.
How is that possible?
Every Hindu's actions are governed by a set of parameters that are built into him since birth.
Swami, be practical. You have to be smart and earn your living.
Religion is not going to feed you, and it is not going to help you in your retirement.
Did I say that you do not need to earn or save for retirement? Okay, let me ask you to speak about your religions.
I am a Christian. Every Sunday, I go to my local church and I pray.
I am a Mohammedan. I pray 5 times a day and I pray at the mosque every Friday.
I am a Hindu, yet I do not need to go to any temple. All my actions are governed by the Hindu principles of seva, moksha, punya, dharma.
How can these be principles of a religion?
All our actions are governed by these principles. There's no point in going to a church or a mosque or a temple if one does not live a principled life.
What is karma?
Every man is peculiar. His own growth is set out by his actions from his infinite past lives.
Why is the past action gone is gone?
Yeah, enjoy this life. Why worry?
The ultimate goal of every Hindu is moksha, or salvation. This is determined by our actions, past and present.
Your actions are self-centered.
Your actions don't help build a race or religion.
Well, let's think of it like this. If all Hindus live by a basic set of principles, we all work towards a common goal. Thus, our actions would affect each other.
Swami leads the multi-religious group at New York. The topic of discussion is, why are Hindus considered soft and holy?
Namaste, Swami.
Namaste. I bow to the God in you.
I have repeatedly heard phrases like mild Hindu, soft Hindu.
Calm Hindu, holy Hindu.
Are all Hindus calm and soft? Does this have anything to do with the Hindu religion?
Yes, well, I attribute that to the Hindu religion. Now let us think about the Greeks and the Romans for a moment.
The earth trembled under the march of the Greek battalions.
Yes, gone is that ancient land of the Greeks.
Roman ego floated, and Rome's power was pressed against the heads of humanity.
And what happened? The spider weaves its web where Caesar once ruled.
What do the Greeks and Romans have to do with the Hindu religion?
Are you saying Hindu kings were more powerful than the empires?
We have never been a conquering race, true, but we existed for many years, far before the Greeks and the Romans.
Agreed. The aggressors and their dominance vanished in a great big ripple.
All their dominance was soaked in a deluge of blood.
And what did the Hindus do then?
What?
What do you mean?
When other nations marked their identity with violence and bloodshed, we followed principles like Dharma and Ahimsa and built ours with a strong religion.
How practical is that?
It's very practical. You see, our religion is not written by kings or monarchs, instead by simple, learned men who realize these ideas, which were later practiced and compiled.
Nations are fighting and you're writing a religion? What a joke!
What did the Romans leave behind? A rich legacy? Only pages of history.
Did aggressors not reach India?
India had no wealth.
That is not the case. Blow after blow made her strong and resilient. What history shows is only the material wealth that was stolen. But India has a storehouse of knowledge, a rich culture, and of course the religion, and our scriptures like the Upanishads and the Gitas.
What does the Upanishads and the Gita have to do with our Hindu society today?
Who can remember all those scriptures?
How does one value a treasure knowing nothing about it? Principles like non-violence, truth, and peace are all very practical. Things like the concept of zero, the medicine of science, and astronomy all existed way back then.
We moved away from our original question.
Soft Hindu?
The answer is in the question itself. Our rich religion has made us strong and holy. Hinduism is the only religion where every idea has peace in the front and blessing at the back. Every Hindu is a blessed child of God.
Swami meets religious activists at Chicago. The topic of discussion is religious conversion in a positive tone.
Namaste, Swami.
Namaste.
Namaste. May God bless you all.
You boast high of spiritual richness in the Hindu religion.
If that is the case, why do people switch to other religions such as Buddhism and Christianity?
I must admit to the truth here. It is always important to look at things from introspective viewpoints.
Isn't that yoga? Look into yourself.
There is no power in the universe to injure us unless we first injure ourselves.
What do you mean?
What did we do for those people who forsook their own religions? Why should they convert?
I still don't get it.
I once spoke to an honest woman, a streetwalker, on why she is such. She told me the only way she can get compassion and help is by being a streetwalker.
You mean she needed help?
Of course, and we did not give it to them when it was needed.
You boast high of your religion. Giving a dana is an important action in the Hindu religion.
Yes, but we were going around the small things, not paying attention to the big picture.
And what may that be?
There are two aspects of the Hindu religion. Karma, which relates to action, and jnana, which relates to knowledge. We were giving too much importance to karma.
Dharma is actually never good, right?
No, because we were paying too much attention to the petty things, like drink with your right hand and not with the left, or pray 3 times a day. At one point, our religion was getting into the kitchen.
What does religion have to do with cooking?
Our God is the cooking pot, and our religion is too holy to touch.
How can this be addressed?
2 things must be done. First, we must address the problem and help them live a clean, simple life. We can unite them through religion.
You mean practicing of a religion was more mundane?
What is the other action?
Simply acknowledging the problem is not enough. We must then act upon it by giving.
What do you mean giving? Giving food? Giving water?
There are 4 types of giving, or dana. Giving of spiritual knowledge, the giving of secular knowledge, giving of food to the needy, and saving of life.
How do you know what they need?
Well, of course their immediate need is food for living. After that, we must provide them with enough secular knowledge to become independent. The giving of spiritual and secular knowledge is of utmost importance.
For a poor person, how does spiritual knowledge help?
For a poor person, the mind would have lost all its originality and strength. This can only be regained through total surrender to the Lord and the giving of spiritual and secular knowledge.
An excellent skit by the students. I'd like to acknowledge Ms. Lakshmi Chandrasekhar on behalf of the temple.
Good afternoon to all of you. It's my great honor now to welcome the great friend of the temple, a great friend of the community, and someone who is looked up upon at all times, and she's always here, our Senator Toby Stavisky. May I request her to please come up on the stage?
I must say, I sat enthralled listening to the young people describe the Hindu religion. And we are very fortunate to have the young people to pass from generation to generation the cultural, religious, ethnic, whatever knowledge as it passes from one generation to another. And I think that's just a wonderful, wonderful experience, and I thank you for permitting me to listen. When Dr. Mysapur invited me, she asked if we could do a resolution making August Hindu Awareness Month. And my first reaction was, we should have done this years ago. So it will be my pleasure to work with my colleagues in government, and we will also ask the governor's office because there are so many people, not only in my district, not only in the city, but quite frankly throughout the country. And New York, the Empire State, is very fortunate to have so many people from India and from the South Asian community. The legislature will not be in session, I don't think, until January, so this is going to have to wait till January. But I know that my colleagues in government will join me in introducing a resolution. Secondly, let me just mention that with Election Day coming up, there's been a push to make ballot questions and election material provided by the City of New York available in the South Asian languages. And the Voting Rights Act demands this, quite frankly. It's long overdue, and I've been working with Assemblyman David Weprin in particular, because he represents a very, very large South Asian community in Richmond Hill. But we've worked together on these issues, and we're going to continue to do so because we have a lot of ballot resolutions this year on issues such as casino gambling, and people have to be able to read it and understand it before they vote. So that is another area that I think is long overdue. But again, I thank you for educating me, and it will be my pleasure, as I said. Let me present Certificate of Recognition to the Hindu Temple Society of North America as you celebrate Hindu Awareness Month in August.
How wonderful is that if we had a whole month to acknowledge Hinduism? I think California just passed Hindu Awareness Month for the month of October, so we need to catch up actually. Right now I just wanted to make sure whoever has taken the quiz is starting to pass it to the volunteers so that we can start correcting them. And our next program will be Speaker Gokul Iyer, a high school student who is also an active member of the Hindu Temple Pathashala and youth group. Gokul will be addressing Hinduism's relationship to technology and how advanced mathematical, scientific concepts were prevalent even during the Vedic period.
Namaste and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Hinduism is an ancient religion that has flourished in a plethora of areas, such as mathematics, science, and astronomy. Not through the annihilation or conversion of others, but by being benevolent to people of all faiths and cultures. But these contributions have only been acknowledged at the turn of the millennium. The Western philosophers and intellectuals who believed that they had discovered all of the knowledge in the modern sphere were actually just latecomers to knowledge that was already present in the Vedas. Unlike a high schooler of modern times, a Vedic-era student would not fret at the thought of preparing for tests and exams, particularly in mathematics and science. Instead, they would learn to apply one of the 16 Vedic sutras to solve simple and complex problems. According to Swami Bharati Krishna Tirthaji of Puri Mutt, all mathematical problems, including large sums, multiplication, and multivariable quadratics, could be solved simply by using the formulae presented in the Vedic sutras. Even professors and students at IIT have admitted to using these Vedic techniques to help solve complex problems. Swami Tirthaji, a passionate believer and philosopher of the Vedic tradition, sought knowledge about mathematics in the Vedas. During this search for knowledge on Vedic mathematics, he wrote 16 volumes about Vedic math, one on each sutra. He explained mental methods of working out complex sums, products, and quadratics. Now, one could speculate as to why this mathematical knowledge contained in the Vedas was not discovered for the past 3,500 years. Simple. These methods and techniques were written in the forms of hymns and slokas, and not in mathematical terminology. It is through Bharati Krishna's deciphering and translating that these findings have come to light and have become more accessible and easy to understand. Today, many universities in India focus whole courses around Vedic mathematics, totally ignoring modern European methods. The so-called Hindu-Arabic system originated from the Hindus, which was later adopted by the Arabs and Persians and subsequently implemented by the Western world. A Hindu mathematician and astronomer, Brahmagupta, was the first to have formulated and written down the concept of zero and to establish a set of rules known as Brahmagupta's rules. These rules explain the rules for zero when used in mathematical calculations. These calculations still hold true today. Ancient Hindus also fully charted out a system for algebra and trigonometry, as well as gave proofs for geometrical phenomena such as the Pythagorean theorem through algebraic explanations. These preceding examples are only a small sample of what ancient Hindus have contributed to modern mathematics. But mathematics is not the only subject in which ancient Hindus excelled in. Ayurveda, the ancient science of medicine, which originated around 1000 BC, accurately documents anatomical and physiological aspects of a human being and how to diagnose and cure diseases. This is accurately detailed in the Charaka Samhita, a medical text which deals with doctoral practices, diet, therapy, anatomy, diagnosis, and prognosis. This was the first of its kind, as it was written between 500 and 300 BC, more than 1,000 years before its European counterpart. These medical facts were not only documented and studied, but were practiced as well. Acharya Shushruta, the son of sage Vishwamitra, is known as the father of plastic surgery. He has recorded and compiled the Shushruta Samhita, an encyclopedia on plastic surgery and anesthesia. It has details and records of Shushruta himself performing rhinoplasty and other medical procedures. It also details on how to repair and heal 12 different types of fractures, 6 types of dislocations, and how to close up wounds with stitches using threads of horsehair and bark fibers. Details on how to hygienically perform cranial surgery, cesarean section, and amputations are compiled in the encyclopedia as well. The use of 125 different types of tools are documented, most of which are still used in modern practice today, such as scalpels, lancets, needles, catheters, and more. Clearly, ancient Hindus have been great thinkers and pioneers in all aspects of modern medical practice. As Grant Duff, a British historian of India, once said, many of the advances in the sciences that we consider today to have been made in Europe were in fact made in India centuries ago. It is astonishing to look up at the same sky which Aryabhatta gazed upon and proclaimed that the earth was round, spun on an axis, orbited the sun, and suspended in space, more than 1,000 years prior to Copernicus. His major work, Aryabhatta, gives details on the motion of the solar system, eclipses, sidereal periods, and more. His work was translated to Arabic during the Islamic Age and Latin, which influenced their respective cultures profoundly. Calendric calculations devised by Aryabhatta are used to this day. Similarly, Brahmagupta, also a great mathematician, was the first to proclaim the law of gravity. In the 11th century, Bhaskaracharya elaborated on this notion in his book Siddhanta Shiromani. Both of these observations were made 1,000 years and 500 years respectively before Newton's universal law of gravitation. Not only did the ancient Hindus concentrate on the cosmos, but they also investigated into the smallest components of matter, the building blocks of the world. Acharya Kannad, a philosopher born in the 6th century BC, was the father of the atomic theory. He classified all objects of creation into 9 elements, namely earth, water, light, wind, ether, time, space, mind, and soul. He said, every object of creation is made of atoms. One of the world's great faiths dedicated to the idea that the cosmos itself undergoes an immense, indeed infinite number of deaths and rebirths. It is the only religion in which the timescales correspond to those of modern scientific cosmology. Its cycles run from our ordinary day and night to a day and night of Brahma, 8.64 billion years long, longer than the age of the Earth or the Sun, and about half the time since the Big Bang. To conclude, one must comprehend the fact that ancient Hindus have bestowed to humanity the gift of knowledge and an understanding of our world. So far, a small fraction of our ancient texts have been understood. However, there's more to be unveiled and explored. Look around yourselves and be proud that your forefathers have been part of a legacy that has flourished in the past, is flourishing, and will flourish for eons to come. As Mark Twain once said, India is a cradle of the human race, the birthplace of human speech, the mother of history, the grandmother of legend, and the great-grandmother of tradition. Our most valuable and most constructive materials in the history of man are treasured up in India only. Dhanyavadaha.
At this moment, I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Ashish Sahani and Mr. Kadoria from the India Intellectual Forum, and Mrs. Renee Lobo, a journalist and community activist, as well as Dr. Neeta Jain, a community leader. for being here. Thank you. Our final youth speaker, Divya, is a high school student entering her final year at Bronx Science. She is also a committed volunteer at the Hindu temple, who will be sharing a personal account of how she grew up as a Hindu.
When I was younger, I was aware that I was a Hindu. However, I only had a vague idea of what that meant to me. I knew that my heritage as a Hindu led to me being a vegetarian and my praying to the god Krishna. I was exposed to stories from Mahabharata and Ramayana. At that age, however, I did not understand what these things represented. I could not comprehend why I could not eat the same things as my peers at school would eat, or why my classmates were not familiar with the god Krishna. To me, many of the stories of Mahabharata were just that, stories. Usually, to the rambunctious child I was, going to the temple or doing anything religious meant sitting still for too long and not being allowed to run or play. My grandmother, being a very devout Vaishnava, had given me plenty of chances to come to that conclusion. She prays at every waking hour of her day and finds that she must pray to and care for the child form of Krishna. In my childhood, I naively found that to be very unrelatable and interesting. As a result, it came to me as a pleasant surprise when my mother decided to take both my brother and me to India to celebrate Diwali, the festival of lights. During this festival, I got to run and play with fireworks and sparklers, and it left such an impression on me. I was not exposed to this form of delight, as sparklers are illegal in the city where I live. It was a brighter and decidedly more charming side of Hinduism that was revealed to me during this festival. I will always remember this festival with fondness in particular whenever I think of Diwali, and I try to emulate that feeling that I enjoyed from these celebrations every year. I clearly remember later that same year, I was sitting in my pre-K classroom during the winter. The classroom was in a church, and come lunchtime, everyone began to talk excitedly about Christmas. My mom made sure that my family could enjoy the brightness of the holiday. Everyone would ask my mom why we celebrate the holiday, even though we are not Christians. Her response would always be that we partake in the celebrations to make people happy. She said that if we can add to the happiness of our community, my family would truly be following the teachings of our religion. Sarve bhavantu sukinaha, sarve santu niramaya, sarve patrani pashyantu, ma kashit dukkhabhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This belief is exhibited in this prayer that asks for the happiness and peace of all. Nobody is left out from this prayer, no matter what religious background. I learned that we practice our religion through everyday activities that we partake in. When I was in middle school, I began to feel a lot more comfortable in my skin and began to accept my own religion a lot more. I began to take vegetarianism a lot more seriously, and I began to learn about my religion at the Pachala, the temple school. I slowly began to understand with depth the many concepts of Hinduism, and with this understanding came faith. Faith is something that keeps me motivated. It brings me focus, and it has aided me greatly in my studies. Concentration in my earlier years was never something I could claim to be good at. To the casual observer, it seemed that I would rather play than work. With knowledge of meditation and with a greater focus, I was able to prove to people that I was more intellectually oriented. Faith has taught me respect for the learning environment and respect for my teachers, my gurus. Mata, Pita, Guru, Deva. Parents and teachers are to be respected first in Hinduism, even before God. Faith is also something that keeps me strong. It is what aided me and other members of my family when 2 weeks ago, my grandmother, my dadi, was taken to the emergency room due to a severe infection. I was anxious, and I would have been nervous if it had not been for my faith. It kept me calm. I prayed for my dadi's recovery and hoped that she would remain strong. The next day, she made an amazing recovery, and the spark had returned to her eyes. This grim occurrence became a chance to strengthen my faith. My dadi and I may have differences in our ideas and methods of worship, but we both pray to the same God. Our paths and roads are different, but the destination is the same. It is only in the beliefs of Hinduism that such a thing is possible. There are multiple paths to salvation. For instance, the Karma Yoga, the path of action, Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion, and Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge, are all valid paths for the soul to take. Yet they each lead to moksha. It is empowering to know that there are many ways to to leave, and I am proud to be a representative of this beautiful faith.
On behalf of the Hindu temple, I'd like to appreciate Divya Dayal. I just want to make a couple of announcements. Actually, next week the temple will be hosting its annual picnic. The theme is Mind, Body, and Spirit. So it's located at Cunningham Park, and we'd like for all of you to come join us. It'll be in coordination with the UNICEF TAP project, which is a nationwide campaign that provides clean water and adequate sanitation to children around the world. So join us during the picnic for a symbolic walk to raise awareness to the world water crisis and support the UNICEF project. This is next week, next Saturday, and it starts at 9:30 a.m. and it goes to 4 p.m. So you should register for participation in the outdoor activities. It's participation by donation is $5 a person, but children under 18 years can go for free. And the other announcement is that the following Sunday, on August 11th, there is an India Day parade in Hicksville, Long Island. The temple group will be walking the parade, so please join us and come support us there. It's apparently starting at Patel Brothers on Patel Brothers Plaza at Broadway at noon sharp. So come participate as well. Up next is the Muktambar Fine Arts students who will be performing a dance titled Radha Krishna, which will depict the relationship between Radha and Krishna in the spring season with love, friendship, and fun in the air. This dance was taught by teacher Savitri Ramanand and will be performed by students Divya Mary James and Amy Thomas.
Could be back.
I'd also like to announce that there's a Mr. and Miss Vegetarian pageant happening on Saturday, September 14th from 5 p.m. onwards at SUNY College at Old Westbury. For essay topic, registration forms, guidelines, and additional information, please visit their website at vegetarianvision.org. There will be flyers outside for all the information. Up next is our keynote speaker, Ms. Sheetal Shah. Ms. Sheetal Shah is the Senior Director of the Hindu American Foundation. She's based in New York City and holds a master's degree from the London School of Economics. She focuses on communicating with and expanding the Hindu American Foundation's membership base, fundraising and finances, and building and promoting the HAF brand through various means, including the Foundation's website. Ms. Shah is also well experienced in the Hindu American Foundation's human rights campaign and various community outreach efforts. Let's please welcome her on stage.
Namaste, and thank you all, especially Umaji, for once again inviting me to speak here on behalf of the Hindu American Foundation, a nonprofit advocacy group that I have now been a part of for almost 8 years. Last year, on this very stage, I had the chance to speak about Hindu unity, our need for it, and why and how we at HAF use advocacy as a tool for unity. Today's theme on living and preserving Hinduism is perhaps the perfect topic for someone like me, someone whose full-time job is being an advocate for the Hindu American community. First, I'd like to start with a story. I joined HAF back as a volunteer back in 2005. Back then, we had no staff. It was just a group of volunteers trying to make something happen. I remember when we posted our first job description to hire our very first full-time staff member. The response was dismal, but Krishna saved us, and we had one outstanding applicant who we eventually hired. For 1 year, she and our office assistant were the only 2 HAF paid employees. Then in 2007, after completing my master's at the London School of Economics, I made the decision to leave behind a consulting career and join HAF full-time. Both career-wise and financially, it was a risky decision, and my mother was not particularly pleased, although my father, a longtime Hindu activist, was thrilled. And as I mentioned last year, it was also a decision met with scorn from my Hindu peers and looks of disapproval from my older family members and family friends. What is this Hindu thing you are doing? Why would you leave a good consulting job for something like this? They all asked. Now fast forward to 2010. I'm still with HAF, and we now have a full-time staff of 5. Fast forward once again to March of this year. HAF began searching for not 1, but 3 new staff members. But this time we faced a completely new dilemma. We had too many outstanding applicants. My executive director, Suhag Shukla, and I just looked at each other. We were flabbergasted. Were we dreaming? Or was it really possible that so many young professionals now wanted to do this Hindu thing full-time? Well, thankfully, it wasn't a dream. So here we are today at HAF with a full-time staff of 8, and one of my staff members, Jay, is somewhere out in the audience. He's here from DC, so thank you for coming, Jay. All of us are here making a career out of this once scorned Hindu thing. All of us are living Hinduism through our work as advocates for the community. And if you'll indulge my pride of the HAF staff for just a little bit longer, I'd like to share with you the caliber of the newest Hindu advocates. Our Director of Education and Curriculum Reform, Murli Balaji, is a former journalist and a former professor at both Temple and Penn State Universities. He turned down an offer to be Assistant Dean at Temple University in order to join HAF. Our newest Associate Director of Public Policy, Harsh Gorganti, is a lawyer who joined us after a couple of years at the American Civil Liberties Union. And last but not least, our Director of Member Relations, Shrivani Gandhi, came straight to us from the FBI. And so while all of our roles at HAF are important in their own right, Murli's focus on textbook and curriculum reform lends itself to further examination, given today's theme of living and preserving Hinduism. Preserving Hinduism can only happen if you are living it and able to pass it to your children. Preserving Hinduism can only happen if your children continue to live as Hindus. And your children will only live if they are proud of being Hindu. Think about your non-Hindu, non-Indian neighbors and friends. Before they met you, who shaped their views of Hindus and Hinduism? Perhaps something on TV, a movie, a newspaper, or a magazine. But what about before then, way before then? Well, if your neighbors grew up in this country, then they learned about Hinduism in 6th or 7th grade in a social studies class, and maybe once again in high school. Now, I grew up in the South, and I can assure you that as the only Hindu kid in my social studies class, I slid as far down into my desk as possible during the Hinduism lecture. What kid can be proud of a religion that, according to one popular textbook used in California, teaches that women are inferior to men? What kid growing up in a Judeo-Christian monotheistic country can be proud of a religion that is described as having a monkey god, an elephant god, and gods with multiple heads and arms? What kid can be proud of a religion that today the Texas School Board curriculum teaches as being primarily associated only with India and having spread little throughout the world? I wish I had been that self-assured kid who stood up to my teacher and explained that Hinduism is so much more than just caste, cow, and karma. I wish I had stood up and explained that Hinduism is a 5,000-plus-year-old way of life that has given the world countless gifts like yoga, ahimsa, and Ayurveda. I wish that I had explained that because the principles of pluralism and tolerance are at the very core of Hinduism, India has provided shelter to countless persecuted minorities throughout the ages. I wish I had explained to her the powerful meaning of the Hindu greeting Namaste, the divine in me bows to the divine in you. But I didn't. I didn't do any of these things. And perhaps here in Queens, given the strength of the Hindu community, your children don't have to face these issues. But there are countless Hindu middle schoolers around this country, like my former self, who are still cowering behind their desks, hoping not to draw attention to themselves during the Hinduism section of social studies. There is no interest in living or preserving Hinduism. In middle school, you just want to fit in. And as we've seen, these vast misrepresentations of Hinduism are perpetuated over the years with nothing to combat them. But it's time for that to stop. If we want to preserve Hinduism, it is our responsibility as advocates, parents, and temple leaders to step in and ensure that Hinduism is taught fairly, accurately, and respectfully in our classrooms, from the curriculum, to the textbooks, to the explanations that teachers provide. And that is what we at the Hindu American Foundation are doing. Murli has been creating a Hinduism 101 module, which he will soon be taking nationally to use to train teachers how to teach about Hinduism in their classrooms. He has been reaching out to textbook publishers, public officials, policymakers, and others to see how we can improve the Hinduism section of social studies. And the impact will be twofold. First and foremost, it will allow our younger generations of Hindu American children to sit up with pride in their social studies classes. And second, it will help to change the public perception about Hinduism from the ground up. New York City, with its melting pot of ethnicities and cultures and religions, is different. But step outside to Middle America, Step outside to the Midwest or to the South. The perception of Hinduism, the perception of you and me, drastically changes, and it's not necessarily for the better. And perception matters. It affects how your children are treated by their peers and teachers. It affects how your employers look at you when you ask to take Diwali off. It affects whether a yoga magazine will describe yoga as a Hindu practice. And again, on this latter point, I turn to a story that began in 2009. For a number of years, some of us at HAF were subscribers to Yoga Journal, a pretty popular yoga magazine. But we began noticing time and time again that the magazine described yoga as Indian, tantric, Vedic. It was odd, but the magazine never seemed to describe yoga as Hindu. Were we just imagining it, or was there something more to the story? After repeated attempts to contact Yoga Journal over email, we finally got tired and found a number to call. So our executive director, Suhag, called, relayed our observation, and after some hemming and hawing from the lady who answered the phone, the lady finally revealed, and I quote, "Actually, we do avoid using the term Hinduism because it carries too much baggage." What just happened here? An incredibly popular yoga magazine simply decided to drop Hindu as a descriptor for yoga because it carries too much baggage. This is the power of perception at work. Needless to say, we were all taken aback and incensed. Are the Om signs and the Ganeshas that are prevalent in so many yoga studios, are they not Hindu? Can you really balance in Natranjasana or Hanumanasana and tell me this has nothing to do with Hinduism? Still, flabbergasted by Yoga Journal, HAF took action by launching our Take Back Yoga project. The project's goal is to highlight the Hindu roots of yoga. First, it's important to note that yoga is much, much more than a physical practice of twisting and bending the body. Yes, asana is one of 8 limbs, and for so many, it is the entry to the world of yoga. But this overemphasis on asana today has led too many to believe that asana alone is yoga. Second, we connect the holistic practice of yoga back to its Hindu roots. Yoga encompasses yamas and niyamas, concepts of nonviolence, truthfulness, cleanliness, both physically and mentally. Yoga teaches the practitioner to look inside oneself to find the divine, thereby teaching us that the divine resides in us all. If that's not Hinduism, I don't know what is. I do want to note that the campaign also states that Hinduism is not a proselytizing faith. We never compel any practitioner to become Hindu, nor pledge allegiance to the faith. But to deny that yoga as a whole is rooted in Hindu philosophy, that is simply incorrect and unacceptable. So you may ask, why should we bother with this? What is the point of arguing this? How does this affect me or the person sitting next to me? Well, if I was back in middle school and learning about Hinduism, I wouldn't have minded if the textbook explained that yoga is rooted in Hinduism. I may not have shrunk down in my desk. I might have felt even just a little bit proud that my religion shared this beautiful practice with the world. Proud that this practice that benefits so many people in countless ways came from my faith. Proud that the tenets of yoga are the same as those that my parents have been teaching me for years. It would make me proud to be Hindu. And ultimately, isn't that what we want? For our youth to be proud to be Hindu. But if we don't speak up, if we don't act, if we continue to be passive, then the perceptions that have been created about Hinduism will become more and more of a reality. And as I said, perception matters. It affects whether a community will welcome a new Hindu temple in its neighborhood, or whether it will protest against its construction. It affects whether a Hindu feels the need to convert to another religion in order to win an election to a public office in this country. After years of watching the Bobby Jindals and Nikki Haleys of the world shun their native dharmic faith, the community finally had a chance to rejoice as Tulsi Gabbard became the first Hindu American to be elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, and to take her oath on the Bhagavad Gita. Finally, you can be Hindu and be elected to Congress. In her short time on the Hill, Tulsi has been an inspiration to many young Hindu Americans, especially those interested in politics, which is an arena that our community has not placed a lot of emphasis on. For many, politics is still a dirty word, and most importantly for parents, it is not a stable career path like medicine or engineering. It's risky, and the risk of failure is very high. But what do we as a community lose by avoiding this risk? When evangelicals need something done, they know which offices they can approach in Congress. Ditto for the Jews. Ditto for the Muslim groups. They all have their to-go offices. All of these groups are represented by at least one member of their faith in Congress. Until the election of Tulsi, Hindus had no one. And when you have no one, getting the simplest of things done on the Hill is an uphill battle. This is something we at the Hindu American Foundation know quite well. I go back to 2007, 2008. It took us 3 years of advocating on Capitol Hill to get a Diwali resolution passed. Do you know what a congressional resolution does? It doesn't do anything. It's not a law. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't implement anything. It's a purely symbolic gesture made by members of Congress. 3 years of knocking on doors to get Congress to symbolically recognize the religious significance of Diwali for Hindu, Jain, and Sikh Americans. We didn't get a national holiday out of it. We don't even have a stamp. We didn't even get it included on every calendar. But it still took us 3 years to get symbolic recognition alone. 3 years of answering, you're the what foundation? Hindu? 3 years of answering, are you Hindu Sunni or Hindu Shia? 3 years of answering, what is Diwali again? That was 2007. We're in a much better place now. There's a Hindu in Congress. HAF has a much more established presence on the Hill. No one asks us if we're Hindu Sunni or Shiite anymore. And 3 years ago, we launched the Hindu American Congressional Internship Program. This program accepts 6 outstanding Hindu American college students and places them in congressional offices for 8 weeks over the summer. My interns come from across the country, from Stanford, the University of Chicago, NYU, Princeton. And in fact, yesterday was their last working day of this intern class. HAF pays for their housing. We provide them with travel and living stipends. And we not only provide them with a real experience of working on Capitol Hill, but we introduce them to Hindu American advocacy. These interns work alongside congressmen and their staffers, and through their affiliation with the Hindu American Foundation, they are building the Hindu narrative in those offices. And at the cost of $5,000 an intern, this program is a huge investment for HAF. But it is our way of investing in the future leaders of the Hindu American community. We all live Hinduism in our own ways. And as the Vedas teach, there is no single correct way. Our community is never going to come together under a single umbrella organization. And in fact, I've never seen any community do it. But our collective efforts, be it through advocacy, through building and running temples, through reviving Sanskrit, through building schools and villages in India, through the teaching and practicing of yoga, through classical dance, all of these efforts are equally respectable and vital to our community. So let's not discount someone else's efforts as less important than our own. They are all equally important. Because in the end, the goal is still the same: empowering Hindus worldwide, instilling a pride of Hinduism in generations to come, and preserving our rich tradition for countless generations. Thank you.
Give it a big, big, big. See, we need young leaders like her. This is a classic example to many youngsters who are here to think of Hindu, 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 Hindu. Morning, afternoon, evening, you get up and before you go to bed. And what you can do as a Hindu. You are a superior person as a Hindu. You think of a Hindu, and yet you are a part of the great society. So, we are sincere thanks and appreciation to Sheetal in her busy schedule to come and share her thoughts, and of course a great piece of advice for all of us, and giving us the inspiration to see what we can do and should do as Hindus towards our community and the community at large. So may God bless you with continued success. Here is a small token.
So we've tallied up all of the quiz scores at this point. And here are the much anticipated names of the high scorers. If you are all, when I call out your name and you're all still here, just stand. In first place is Archana Raghavan and Anushka Guha. In second place are Tejas Ketan Modi. And in third place are Kavita Iyer and Harshal Bhatt. There was a total of 45 participants, but these 5 stood out. Our final dance of the afternoon will be a multi-regional dance by the Ganesha Pathasala students. It will be a blend of different music and dance items that were put together by youth members and dance teachers. The performers are Abhirami Jagannathan, Abhirami Uday Shankran, Akshara Harikaran, Akshaya Sundaraj, Anish Sundaraj, Isha Patil, Neetharani Vimalanathan, Kabilan Surendran, Kaveri Kanu, KCD Rajendran, Kritika Ravishankar, Lakshmi Harindran, Madhumita Shivane Sudurai, Mohini Kanchal, Maithili Harindran, Nidhi Mahadevan, Nithya Vishwanathan, Pariti Somkhya, Kalahatan Parthiban, Pravarana Parthiban, Priyanshi Panchal, Sahana Radhakrishnan, Samitri Sharma, Sophia Balachandran, Sugandhani Nathan, and Shweta Hariharan.
Thank you.
the choreographers Jnanavati Harindran, Jaya Patil, and Abhirama Jaganathan on stage as spoken officials. I'd like to call Dr. Mysore-Kar for the vote of thanks.
Because it is Hinduism. Let us also remember, folks, that in Hinduism, one thing is we say we must respect all religions. We must also differ when we need to differ. But we differ honestly so. And we must also seek peace. And we all know that no religion in this world teaches violence and harmfulness. It is the human beings that follow that carry this vision of destroying one another. And therefore it is not the name of the religion that is destroying the universe today. It is the wrong interpretation of the faith. And so for us as Hindus, who are peace lovers, who have shown their extraordinary patience in not just our country but elsewhere in the world, must take the leadership in showing how peace can prevail in this universe. As you know, Loka samastha sukhino bhavantu is always the ending of every single prayer that we follow day in and day out. It's not chanted just for the sake of chanting, but it is chanted with reverence, meaning and faith. So please, my dear friends, parents, brothers, sisters, all of you, I appeal humbly to you that please enforce this religion into your children, to your grandchildren. Bring them to the temples. Let us not just say that what is temple for some ritual. No, temple is a house of energy. Without that energy, you will not survive. Let me be very honest with you. Temples are houses of energy. And therefore, unless you inculcate this into your children and grandchildren, temples will be museums after we are all gone. We don't want to see that. So, with this, I sincerely thank all of you for coming here this afternoon, being so patiently, and certainly appreciate the great work done by our excellent volunteers. And most of all our speakers, which spoke their heart out. And I feel so honored and blessed that I am among them. And God has given me this privilege to be able to speak to you. Thank you all extremely much. And I sincerely hope I have one more message, and I'd like for these three people to come up on the stage. This is the first time, although we're all neighbors here, we say hello, hello, and we meet here and there. But this is the first time the Hindu Center, which is our neighbor, Swaminarayan Temple, which is also our neighbor, we got together. This Hindu Awareness Day is a combined effort of all these three big institutions. Please give a big round of applause. And my humble desire to appeal to the leaders of those institutions to please continue this. I'd like for this continued coordination and working together, because unless we are in this together, we cannot survive, nor we can achieve. This asking Senator Tuvisky just came to me about 10 days ago. Suddenly it flared in my mind. I took the privilege of calling her office and I said, this is what, they said, send us an email. And she was so grateful, she responded to me. She said, most definitely I will do that. Why not Hindu Awareness Month this August in New York? If California can do, why not?
Anything, and I don't want to take more time. Thank you very much for coming, and we hope that you will come every year and we celebrate this Hindu Awareness. Thank you very much.
First, I will thank you, Dr. Mysore-Kar and Hindu Temple, allowing us to take a part here. And Dr. Mysore-Kar, we will be support you next year and coming years, so you can count us. And I will thank you, all of you. Thank you.
The
announcements. One is, as you know, there is a campaign for Diwali stamp. We'll be sending out the petitions, make sure all of you sign. A few signatures were collected, apparently it's not enough, so we need to collect thousands of signatures. Please encourage, and each member of the family can do that. You all must sign this Diwali stamp petition, number one. Number two, as you know, Diwali celebration at South Seaport, I think it's October 6th, and they wanted just me to announce. Of course, there will be a lot of flyers and so forth. So, now,
after the meditation is done today, there will be snacks served downstairs at the Lakshmi Hall, so please be sure to go and have some food afterwards. Also, for all the Ganesha Pathasala students, next week there won't be any class. Instead, you can have class at the park at 9:30 a.m. Actually, it's just a picnic, but go have fun. It's next Saturday, so enjoy yourselves. For now, we have the closing meditation by Mr. Sanjay Attada, who's a Sishya of Swami Bua and has been teaching at the temple for over 15 years. Let's welcome him on stage.
Please follow the instructions.
Jane, just for a couple of minutes, she's going to share some thoughts.
Namaskar. I hope everybody enjoyed today's wonderful performances and speech, and very well said by all the speakers. So, did you enjoy it? Thank you. And I'm here to announce two things which are upcoming events, which is related to Hinduism as well. AIA is an association of Indians in America, which is, I'm sure that you guys all know, which celebrates Diwali every year at the landmark venue of South Street Seaport. So this year we are celebrating it on October 6th from 12 onwards. So we are inviting everybody, please come with your family and friends and bring your neighbors as well. It's not only for Indians, it's for everybody. Second thing, I'm sure Dr. Uma mentioned it before, we are working on Diwali stamp release. So for that, we are requesting every single Indian and non-Indian to fill out a petition form, which you will get in your email. So if you do not have an email registered with Hindu Temple, please do so. So you will get that and you will be a part of it. And there is a team who is working on this project very rigorously at this point, and we are hoping to get it done by next year, by January. So thank you very much for everything what you do, and we are looking forward for your support as usual. Namaskar.
Now everyone can relax and follow along with the meditation.
Everyone, close your eyes until I ask you open. Keep close your eyes. Completely relax. You can relax while sitting too. Relax your body. Relax your mind. Give a mental massage. Mentally massage your body. Pray to the God Almighty, the creator of the universe. Pray to Him to give you a long life, healthy life, disease-free body, health and strength, strength and stamina, vigor and vitality, peace and prosperity. He is the doctor of the doctors. He is the father of the fathers. He is the architect of this human building. He is the engineer of this human machine. He alone can give you whatever that you require. Therefore, surrender to Him. Seek protection under Him. Take asylum under Him. Seek shelter under Him. He is the Creator. He is the Preceptor. He is the Presenter. He is the Preserver. He is the